Hey kids, it's May. Happy May. No introduction, no music, etc. today. It's episode 192, but today it's just you and me, just me talking to you about where I am with the podcast and with my work here and what I've been thinking about. Well, what I've been thinking about what it is that we do when we get together here every week. And May is such a nice month, right? Linguistically, poetically, the hummingbirds have returned to New England, and thank you with all that interesting hummingbird information and the photos you all shared with me after last week's podcast. I was really interested in all the different kinds of hummingbirds. There are very different ones on the West Coast, and I was interested in some of the different commercial refined cane sugars that you guys have access to across the country that can be used to make that hummingbird nectar that I spend a lot of this time of year filling the feeders with. And I too have returned to New England. And you know, here in the month of May, we are fully in 2024, don't you think? It's really no longer early in the year, in the future. When you're talking about something that happened today or this week, you're not going to say, oh, that was in early 2024. Or if you do, someone will say, no, not early 2024. It was more like mid-year, right? Now, in our family, we had I guess I would call it a big health scare 2 weeks ago. A big scare that included an ambulance ride and emergency rooms and nurses and doctors and machines. And, well, it was one of those events that reminded me of Samuel Johnson, who once said about being sentenced to hang, that it concentrates the mind wonderfully. My mind was concentrated wonderfully based on those events a couple weeks ago. And to skip ahead, the family member is fine. This is the family member's story, so I will not talk about it in any detail, except how it made me think about what it is we do here every week. Because for a little while, we did not think that this family member was fine. We did not think that at all. We thought everything had completely changed, and maybe forever. Now, we were wrong. Thank goodness we were wrong about what we thought. There was complete recovery. But for those of us who were there, I think what really changed was our thoughts about what really, really matters. Now, of course, you don't get to be a certain age without a few of these experiences, right? Some of us get way more of these experiences than others. But I think they always do serve a purpose to concentrate our minds wonderfully on what it is we want. When you get those periodic opportunities to see that the world you had gotten kind of used to might be gone next week or tomorrow or after dinner, you get a chance to think, okay, how do I want to be? Am I living the life that is demonstrating the kind of behavior that shows I'm valuing the things I say that I love? Am I doing the things that show that I value what's important to me? Am I showing up as a human being, mother, grandmother, wife? Am I showing up as that person that I want to be when the music stops and we're all scrambling? So kids, I've talked about it here before, that there's always time for illness. There's always time for sickness. There's always time for the accidents. And we want to remember that thing that we say, the thing you say, the thing I say that's important, that thing that maybe I've been moving from one to-do list to the next without ever crossing it off. or sometimes ever starting. That thing we talk about, there's always time to play small, right? Or to procrastinate or just dabble. There's always time until there isn't. There's always time until there isn't, until there's a crisis or a diagnosis, a life-changing event. There's always time to say tomorrow until we're faced with the concept of a tomorrow that looks completely different than today. So when we have one of those opportunities that gets our full attention, but we've dodged the bullet, we've dodged the finite repercussions, what a great opportunity to wonder if we're being who we want to be. If I'm being who I want to be. If I'm doing what I want to do. So that was my recent little wake-up call 2 weeks ago, as I record this 2 weeks ago. And I've had wake-up calls before. I suppose all of us have. So one of the things that was on my mind in these past couple weeks was, where's my energy going? What actions am I taking? What actions are taking up my time? And is that how I want to keep on going? As you may know, if you're a consistent listener here at Veg Your Best, making a weekly episode for 192 consecutive weeks has been a big focus of my life for over 3 years. Cheering all of you on wherever you are in your vegan or plant-based practices, trying to connect you with any resources that I can find for you, connecting you with like-minded people, the podcast, writers, entrepreneurs, health experts, food professionals, activists. I have focused a large chunk of my time and my energy especially, on empowering folks maybe like yourself, who are not in the full flush of youth and who might sometimes think that it's too hard. That it's too hard to create a vegan or plant-based practice, that it's too disruptive, and that it's overwhelming or too late and won't make enough difference. And maybe you feel like you don't have the discipline or the bandwidth. I've been here because I think that the unintended benefit of moving in a vegan direction, it's not that glow that the magazines talk about, that we sometimes read about, that vegan glow. In my opinion, the real unintended benefit that comes from making more of your choices with compassion and avoiding the depredations of industrial animal agriculture on the earth, the unintended benefit is seeing the power of even your most trivial daily actions. The most trivial things, your snacks, the meals that you don't even pay much attention to, that you just grab, the clothing you put on in the morning, the way you shampoo your hair, the dessert you grab for a bake sale or a get-together. Those daily, almost unconscious choices can actually be small, powerful, consistent votes against things like pain and death and suffering and filth and violence and danger to low-wage workers and water pollution and waste and overuse of pesticides and antibiotics and zoonotic diseases, among many other things. The process of making daily, intentional choices as best you can to be a kind fellow being on a planet like this, I think it connects you to your own personal power and humanity. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long you did not think about those choices. Because when you start leaning into how you can be a force for compassion and change and ethics and consciousness of where our purchases come from and where the waste from all of it goes. And when you make the choices that you can, in spite of the overwhelm, in spite of the social proof around you that you should just keep eating and buying and wearing animals, when you make the choices as best you can, in spite of people saying things about it and not wanting you to change, when you make a practice of choosing kindness and life as much as you can, when you can, where you can, I see it change you in a profound way. So in the wake of a family scare, one thing that is not changing in my life is my commitment to showing up here and creating this little community through this little podcast. Because I do not want anyone to ever think it's too late or that it won't matter. Whether that's moving in a vegan or plant-based direction or building that next goal, creating that new plan, showing up with your new way of advocating for kindness and growth and mutual benefit on this planet. There's always time right now. And what you do always matters. So I want to thank everyone here. I want to thank everyone for being here for this podcast, for supporting Veg Your Best with reviews, for sharing it with friends. That means the world to me when you share it with people who might make use of what we talk about here, or when you share it with guests who might be really valuable for the listeners here. I want to thank Nancy, my VA. I want to thank Charlie, my producer. Nancy and Charlie have been with me right from the start, and I thought about you both a lot this last couple weeks. When I had a big wake-up call, I knew this is still where I want to be. So thank you all for being here. Okay, kids? Get out there, decide where you want to be. And while you're at it, veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.